Today, we are going to trace the story of a single element. Now, it's not rare, it's not glamorous, but it is, without a doubt, one of the most important materials in all of human history. Let's get into the incredible story of iron. So let me just ask you, right off the bat, what do you think is the most important metal in human history? I bet your mind probably jumps to something like gold, right? Or maybe silver. But the real answer, it's something way more common and way more fundamental to our world.
And this really gets to the heart of the difference. Gold, yeah, it's always been prized because it's so rare. It's a symbol of wealth and power. But iron, its real value comes from the fact that there's just so much of it. It's not the metal of kings. It's the metal of builders, of farmers, of innovators. It is literally the engine of progress. But to really start our story, we have to look up, not down. Because humanity's first encounter with iron wasn't by digging in the dirt, but by looking at a falling star. That's right. For our earliest ancestors, iron was a gift from the cosmos. Can you imagine finding this weird, heavy, incredibly strong metal that literally just fell from the sky? It was mysterious, it was super rare, and it was treated with this incredible sense of awe, often considered way more precious than gold. So for thousands of years, this sky iron was only used for very special things, like ceremonial daggers or ornaments. But then, something started to shift. We see these early attempts at smelting pop up in sub-Saharan Africa around 2000 BCE. The real game changer, though, happens around 1200 BCE in Anatolia. That's the moment we stopped just finding iron and started making it ourselves. And that breakthrough, that's the key to this whole story. It's the moment humanity went from just being lucky recipients of this space metal to actively unlocking a secret that was hidden all over the planet, right in the Earth's crust. The secret was a process called smelting. And honestly, it's like a form of alchemy. You get a fire hot enough and you can literally force solid rock to bleed out liquid iron. This wasn't just some new trick. It was the key that unlocked a nearly limitless supply of a supermaterial hidden right under our feet. Now, it might sound complicated, but it really just boils down to these 3 steps. You grab your iron ore, you mix it with a fuel, like charcoal, then you blast it with insane heat, way, way hotter than a normal campfire. And finally, you separate out all the junk, leaving you with this glowing chunk of pure, usable iron. It sounds simple, but it changed the world.
So, this is a huge deal. This one technological leap officially kicks off the Iron Age. And think about the timing. A lot of the big Bronze Age empires were collapsing, partly because the metals for bronze were rare and controlled by the elites. Iron, on the other hand, was democratic. It was stronger, sure, but the most important thing was that it was everywhere. It put better tools and weapons into the hands of ordinary people for the first time in history. And this wasn't just a one-off thing that happened in one place. What's so cool is that while we often point to Anatolia as the start of the Iron Age, people were already developing smelting techniques in sub-Saharan Africa centuries earlier. And by 600 BCE, China was innovating with incredibly advanced blast furnaces. This was a truly global revolution, happening all over the world. So, once this new material was everywhere, how did it change the world? Well, with abundant iron, humanity didn't just get a new set of tools, it got a whole new reality. Suddenly, you could farm anywhere. Iron plows could break up tough, rocky soil that bronze just couldn't handle. That meant more food, which meant bigger populations. In warfare, armies with iron swords and armor could just steamroll enemies who were still using softer bronze. And for builders, they could now create bigger, more ambitious structures using durable iron nails and fittings. It was a step change for civilization. And if you want a perfect example of this in action, just look at the Roman Empire. Their incredible aqueducts, their massive arenas, their world-conquering legions, all of that immense power and engineering was literally built on a foundation of, and held together by, simple iron. So for centuries after Rome, iron stayed essential, but the way we made it was pretty much the same. But then came its next great leap forward. A moment when iron went from being a key material to becoming the very engine of a brand new world. That moment came in the 18th century, right on the doorstep of the Industrial Revolution. The demand for raw materials was about to explode, and iron production had to scale up in a way nobody had ever imagined. And a new kind of fuel was about to light the fire. You see, the big innovation was switching the fuel source. For thousands of years, making iron meant using charcoal, which meant cutting down huge forests. It was totally unsustainable. But then they figured out how to use coke, which is just a purified form of coal. Coke burned hotter, it was way more abundant, and it completely solved the fuel crisis, removing the biggest obstacle to making tons and tons of iron. And just look at what happened. I mean, this chart says it all. The switch to coke didn't just increase iron production a little bit, it caused an absolute explosion. The scale of output just skyrocketed, paving the way for our modern industrial-sized world. And with all this mass-produced iron, we built the modern age. Think about it. Those iconic iron bridges, the massive railway networks that crossed continents, the powerful machinery humming in factories, even the skeletons of our very first skyscrapers, all of it was forged from iron. Okay, so this brings us to the final chapter of our story, where iron gets perfected, taking on the form that really, truly defines the world we live in today. And that form, of course, is steel. All steel really is iron with a little bit of carbon mixed in. But that simple recipe creates an alloy that is so much stronger, more flexible, and more durable than regular iron. You could call it Iron 2.0. It's the ultimate version. And because of steel, iron is still the undisputed king of metals. Today, it is, by a massive margin, the most widely used metal on the entire planet. That long journey from a rare gift from the stars has made it completely essential to everything we do. I mean, just look around you right now. The building you're in, the car you drive or the train you take, the power grid that brings you electricity, even the phone in your hand, it's all fundamentally dependent on steel. It is the hidden framework of our entire modern life. So when you think about it, the path of iron really is the path of humanity. It took us from making ceremonial daggers to building continent-spanning railways, from the Bronze Age all the way to the Information Age. And it raises one last fascinating question. Since we built our world on iron, what material is going to forge our future?